Thank you for joining us for another Community Action Together session. Today's special guest is Shawn Yardley, who runs the Community Concepts in Maine. And first of all, Shawn, where is Community Concepts? What cities are in your service
Lewiston
area?
is our base, and we serve Western Maine. So we serve Oxford and Androscoggin County and Franklin County with a variety of services, and as well as serving outlying counties with specific programs that we run that nobody else runs.
I usually start with this, but I'm assuming you and your family and your agency employees are staying safe during this difficult time.
Well. We've had a few test positive, and they're recovering from the COVID virus and doing okay. And we have everybody that we started with still employed, doing mostly the same jobs, but with some flexibility to do other things that are needed when their programs could no longer deliver the service that they were providing.
Well, glad to hear they're on the road to recovery. Speaking of that, how has the COVID-19 impacted the way your agency operates? Are you business as usual? How you operate under these unusual times?
So we are almost exclusively remote. Our IT department was really prepared well, and we went remote in 24 hours. And our Head Start program, as it happens across the country, shut down, but the Head Start people are still delivering the programs. We have, just in the month of April, our Head Start staff delivered 11 tons of food, which is equivalent to 18,000 meals, and drove 14,000 miles to deliver those food baskets. And they do this every week. It's pretty impressive. They deliver lesson plans. They do virtual. Every day, one of the directors is reading online to the students that choose to join in. We're providing cleaning supplies and diapers. But more than that, we are reminding the folks that are isolated that they haven't been forgotten and that we care. And that has been just huge. And the response, both from staff and the community, has been pretty inspiring.
Now, Community Concepts has had a phenomenal reputation for many years in terms of the assistance and the value you provide to communities. When this pandemic hit and the economic consequences, were there any changes you had to make in terms of programs you operate or needs that were unaddressed in the community that you had to develop responses for?
So about a month ago, we were approached by the City of Lewiston, by Maine Housing, and by the Maine Department of Health and Human Services if we would be open to leading the effort to open a wellness shelter. We weren't in the shelter business, but we had a reputation, I think, that we could get things done. And they had struggled to try to figure out a way to stand this up. And I'm really proud to say, from the time that they asked me in a meeting about 4 Thursdays ago, in less than 2 weeks, we had stood up a fully functioning 60-bed wellness shelter. We hired 25 staff. We did all the support work that we needed to do for linens, food service, and we opened, and it was predictable. The homeless community is somewhat suspect of these kinds of efforts. And we opened with 18, I think, the first night, but within 4 days, we had almost 60 beds filled with people that were seeking to be off the streets and wanted to be safe. Really proud of that. And that alone drew the attention of our sister city in Lewiston. We have twin cities across the river, Auburn. The mayor of Auburn reached out to me and said, can we meet? He said, I need you because I want to do some economic development in the downtown. And with what you've been doing in Lewiston with the shelter, and we're also a choice neighborhood HUD planning grant city, he said, you bring credibility to the table when I approach my fellow council people. And we need Community Concepts to be a partner. Will you be a partner? And I was really honored and humbled that we have that reputation when people want to get things done, from shelters to economic development to feeding people, they think of us. And my staff have absolutely risen to every challenge that they've faced during the last 7 weeks.
That is impressive, and that speaks well of the agency, as you pointed out, and your reputation. Are there any other partnerships that have new partnerships that have arisen because of your response to this crisis?
Well, Good Shepherd Food Bank is the largest food bank in the state, and they're the ones that we've partnered with on getting the food out. And so each week we go to them and partner with them to get 2 tons of food out into the community. That's a partnership we had. We were serving about 40 or 50 families on a very small pilot before all of this began. And within 2 weeks, we were serving 300 families every week. So it's pretty phenomenal that staff were able to gear up in that way. And I tell the story in our South Paris office. Our office sits at a very busy intersection, and our parking lot is sort of just off the road. And so we were, on the good weather days, we were doing all the food prep, getting the packages together out in the parking lot. Fresh air, able to have more social distance, all those things. And we had people stopping by saying, gee, is there any way we can get some help? They weren't clients that I know of. And now we're delivering food in the parking lot to folks like that. The other thing that happened, David, that's pretty impressive is the governor of Maine instituted a program in partnership with Maine Housing to provide $500 to renters, not to them, but to the landlords, with an agreement that the landlords wouldn't evict. And immediately, when they were looking at how they were going to stand that up across the state, they thought of all 10 of our community action agencies. And within 4 days, we had incorporated this rental program into our portfolio. And I think in less than a week, in the Lewiston office, we had received applications from 300 homes. And we had already put, I think, $140,000 of rental assistance out into the community, guaranteeing that 140 families were not going to be displaced, at least in the next month. And to be able to pull that off, not hire any additional staff, and to do it without any administrative payments to us. We just took this on as a partner with the governor and with Maine Housing, and we're actually eating the cost of that program, the cost of administering that. And that's where monies, CSBG monies, are so important, because they give us the flexibility to respond to the need. And the fact that we've been able to increase that, Congress saw the wherewithal and the common sense to raise that to 200%, allows us to serve families that have never probably ever received public assistance in this form before. And to be able to do that in this moment of need is incredibly important. It provides even more flexibility to what we do, which I pride us on being very flexible to begin with. So that CSBG money allows us to respond to the need in a very, very responsive way. And I'm proud of that.
Well, you should be. And that 200% is critical. And on the fourth package, which hopefully Congress will enact, it'll be a little bit of a struggle. It'll be a partisan fight, generally speaking. But we're going to insist that 200% goes for 20, FY21, FY22 regular CSBG appropriations, in addition to the fact that it is now applicable to the COVID-3, the third supplemental that we got the $1 billion for. Community Concepts has had a reputation for a number of years of really having innovative relationships with small businesses in your community. Tell me what you're doing with small businesses who, last estimates, 40% may not survive in this current crisis. What are you doing out there to assist small businesses?
Well, we got a huge boost when SBA provided the forbearance for microloans that they had. Many of those come through Community Concepts. I think for 5 years in a row, we were the micro lender, the top micro lender in Maine. And so that's sort of our sweet spot, is working with these small businesses that are startups and trying to grow. And so we are doing technical assistance virtually with all our businesses. We do that support anyways, as kind of core to what we believe is necessary. But obviously in these times, people got really stressed out, both because of what was happening, but what they feared might happen. And so we've been able to, in partnership with SBA, reassure them and actually reassure our board that we aren't going to have a lot of bad debt on our books that would prevent us from lending more money out that is needed at this time. So we've continued to have great relationships with probably over half a dozen or more local banks, and working with them to coordinate our efforts to support small businesses so that they continue, once things open up and go back to whatever normal is going to be next. And I think normal is going to look much different going forward. And we're already preparing for that with some changes in our the way we do our business, our lobbies. We're working now while the offices are closed to the public to renovate, to make them safer, so that when we do reopen, we'll be ready for the new normal. And actually some of that CSBG money, we may actually be able to use some of that to retrofit our main office to make it safer for the people that are coming in and for our staff. Again, we're trying to use this downtime, if you will, or this different time to do things that we couldn't do otherwise. And again, my staff has just really stepped up in amazing ways. We have daily executive calls, daily calls with our directors, and I send out a daily update in partnership. We rotate among the directors, so everybody in the agency, because we're fairly large, we have 55 different programs spread out over 3 counties. And so we give daily updates, and staff are saying they know more of what's going on across the agency now than they did before. So we've raised the bar. So I think they're going to be expecting daily updates from me into the future. And but it's really worked. They feel connected, and we're working again to do whole family work, the 2-generation approach. And so this has brought all our programs together. So when we had the rental assistance program, we rolled that into our whole family. And so we're helping families that may have never accessed community concept service, but when we're engaging with them around the rental assistance, we're telling them about other programs we have and asking them if they have those needs. And so we're really wrapping the families in a way to help them come out of this hole. And it's really not about, it's not about enabling people to be where they are. It's about empowering people to move beyond that. And that's the philosophy that Community Concepts has. We want to help people not stay where they are, but to improve on their life. And we do workforce development, we do training programs. And these are all opportunities that we have now to reach a whole new group of people and to continue to support those families that we currently serve. The wellness shelter, we're bringing in housing people, counseling people, mental health people, and physical health people into the shelter to connect with them. So my goal is, when this temporary wellness shelter is no longer needed because the virus has subsided, we've helped to engage people that were otherwise disconnected and help move them to a more stable life in more appropriate housing. So everything we do is to that end, and the shelter is a good example of that.
Well, the one final question. First of all, you should be really proud of how your agency and your leadership have responded to the crisis in the community. You're doing exactly what a community action agency should do. You get it, and it's really refreshing and inspiring to hear your story. So you're using this time to look at how you operate differently in the future. I assume technology is going to be much more prevalent, and And what other changes are staff considering, and just in terms of the model going forward?
I think we're going to probably do more virtual meetings. I don't want to say that too loud because right now we're sort of overdosing on Zoom and other technology. But we have learned it's a way to personalize communications. When we have a conversation that we're doing virtually with 10 people on a screen, they can look into our eyes virtually and they hear the nuances of the messages that sometimes get lost in an email that's two-dimensional. And so the importance of communication has been reinforced. I think we always knew it, but it's at a different level now. So, I think that we'll do more virtual meetings. We live in and serve a very wide area, as demonstrated by the 14,000 miles put on vehicles this month delivering food. And so I think we can be more efficient because people can work remotely and still be effective. I think, if we're looking out 5 or 10 years, I think the need for office space is going to change dramatically. And we're already beginning to have sort of sub-meetings or regular standing agenda items, not to talk about just what we're doing today and tomorrow, but what we're doing in 3 months and 6 months. I'm really proud to say at the end of February, we had a regularly scheduled leadership meeting, which is all the people in our agency that supervise people or have agency-wide impact, like strategic planning and things like that. And we changed the agenda because at that point, Maine had not had a positive, and it was happening around the country. And we had a full day planning with just our teams. We broke into small groups, and we said, what if? And we planned for what was going to happen, not knowing for sure that it was. And on Monday, everything broke, free, and it fell down on us. And that day-long planning was some of the best time we've spent getting together. And so the importance of looking ahead and planning, and not just putting our head in the sand and thinking maybe it'll pass or maybe it won't be as bad. We plan for the worst and hope for the best. And in our agency, and it's my team, it's not me, they're a testament of taking that approach. And we haven't had any extra sick time. We're encouraging people to take vacation because it's building up and they need to do it to be healthy. But everyone feels such an urgency to what we're doing. Nobody's looking to do that self-care. So we're really working on that with them now. And that's hard for people to do because they don't want to feel like they're abandoning the team. And it's inspiring.
Well, it is inspiring. And if I look back in 6 months or a year and I think of community concepts, the word that will pop into my mind is leadership. And that's what you've provided. And it's inspiring for the whole network. Well, Shawn, keep doing what you're doing. You get it. And
you too, David. Thank you.
All the staff there that, they make my job in Washington easier. What you do and how you understand the importance of CSBG, but what a community action agency is supposed to be. All its possibilities in the community, you're maximizing that. So I associate the word leadership. Is there another word that you associate with your agency now, if you look back in 6 months and your service and your dedication during these difficult times?
Commitment.
Commitment.
And
Absolutely.
perseverance.
Well, if you have commitment and leadership, those are two good words. And that's a successful program and a successful day. Well, Shawn, keep doing what you're doing. We'll keep fighting for you. And again, Maine is lucky to have you and the communities and the people, as well as the staff. So thanks a lot and stay safe. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, David. You too.
Thank you.